Hello, good morning. How are you today? Well, it's nice out. They say later today there are going to be storms, but it's very pleasant now. Uh, so, the day after my birthday, I have another nice day, at least for the walk. After that, who knows? Some have asked, what do we do? Well, we posted stuff, but we did a combination of things. We went for a ride out to a Bavarian Inn in West Virginia, which is one of the places that reasonably priced, has got lots of spaces outside so you can distance and so forth and still feel like you're having a special event. And we've stayed overnight there a couple of times for that reason, because it's nearby, and with the animals and so forth, we can come back if we have to, if whoever's watching them has a problem. But and then we had a nice meal there and drinks, and my wife later surprised me with more little gifts and a cake. And I picked up a bottle of inexpensive champagne, which tasted very good. And then I did some reading and writing and went to bed. I know, not that exciting. So what's on my mind today other than my birthday? The answer is there's one story I can't shake, and I think it's because I'm a former prosecutor. Let me give you an example from my own office, the Southern District of New York, where I was an assistant. We were pretty tough, very tough, I would say. But we did listen to the facts and study the conditions of the cases and so forth. And there was at least one occasion while I was a prosecutor that there was evidence that a person had been convicted who hadn't done the deed. And the office went to the trouble, necessarily, of getting the case thrown out for that reason. That's what a good prosecutor does. That's what the law requires. The idea is to be just, not just to win. Well, there's a story about a prosecutor who's just been disbarred. And the reason he was disbarred was because he was prosecuting two guys, and they got life sentences, and he had evidence of their innocence during the trial, and he didn't turn it over. And there's a Supreme Court case, Brady, named after the defendant, in which evidence of innocence was withheld, and that was considered a due process violation, which basically means fundamentally fair. I have evidence that your guy didn't do the crime I'm charging him with, and here it is. Now, it's not always that obvious. It could be that we have information about a witness in the case that shows he's not reliable. They're already talking about the Greenberg case. Or that there were other suspects considered, or the lineup wasn't so clear, or the lineup was badly done. Or it could go to sentencing. What he did was not as severe as we think. So there are lots of reasons why something could be considered exculpatory. And in this case, it went right to the facts of the crime. And years later, the Innocence Project, they came up with evidence that proved that these two didn't do it. And so here you have a prosecutor. Now, okay, so all of that we know. We've seen this before. This guy's disbarred. I think he should have been prosecuted because it's a crime. He's in a sense framing. Now, you might, it's not the usual kind of framing. I made up evidence and I did this. But by withholding information, you're framing someone, because the frame of reference is only evidence that you insist proves they did it. But what is the prosecutor thinking? Why isn't he thinking like the Southern District of New York and saying, oh, shit, these guys didn't do it. Look at that. Well, I should sit down with the prosecutor and give them a chance to persuade me that I'm right or wrong. And I did that, not in cases like this one. This one was severe. And sometimes they persuaded me there should be a lesser charge. Some should be dismissed. Sometimes it led to cooperation, all of the above. So why didn't he go that path? Because he wanted to win? Was he in the newspaper? Was he being heralded as a marvelous prosecutor for having closed a case? He should have come forward and said, no, we now realize this evidence indicates the person didn't do the deed. So we're either going to suspend the case, we're going to investigate it further, didn't do any of those things. So that speaks to the character of the person. And increasingly, this is a problem in America, not just among prosecutors, it seems to be among so many people. You know, in the Justice Department, for example, what the Attorney General did in the cases involving Stone and Flynn, that's outrageous, you know, elbowing prosecutors to come up with a result to help the president's friends and cronies. That's just wrong. And also, we don't hold people accountable. And these people cannot be reformed. And so the only thing they understand is punishment. And the only thing that happens as a result of this punishment is to deter the next person that doesn't have the moral standards to do it on their own. So only if they're afraid they might be prosecuted or sanctioned or lose their bar license or be disgraced does it matter to them. So that's that's the case that bothers me today. And I'm going to do a podcast later today, and I'm thinking of how do I deal with this general issue. We have these the species as opposed to the genus. You know, what is the overarching thing that we're not doing? And the answer is we're so tied into our cowardly, diffident context as a prosecutor, as a churchman, as a businessman, etc., that we're compromising significant and important principles. This is a time to show courage, because if we don't show it now, it will be too late. And I think nothing less than the democracy is at stake, because there are those in this nation, as has been true in other democracies, who prefer the chaos of lawlessness, who prefer the instability of disinformation without a knowledge of what is true or false. And these cannot be the ground of our being as a democracy, because if they are the symptoms of the failure of a democracy that will be succeeded by an autocracy. Okay, so I didn't plan on a rant, but there it is. Thanks for all of you who expressed kind wishes on my birthday, and thank me for wandering the roads talking to you. I enjoy it, and the fact that you give me feedback has encouraged me to do this, and I've enjoyed doing it because I'm an Irishman. I like to tell stories and argue cases. Bye-bye.